Welcome to this week's episode of the Evolve to Succeed podcast. This week's guest is Lee Butler from Town and Country Communications. I've known Lee for a number of years, acted for him as his advisor, but also been a customer. And for those of you that know the Town and Country brand and the family, they've been in that mobile and comm sector since the early 90s. The business has morphed and evolved with it, and that's what we're going to talk to Lee about, as well as what it feels like to be in business with his brothers. There's so much I'm sure that Lee's going to share, so I hope you really do enjoy this episode of the Evolve to Succeed podcast. Welcome, Lee, to the Evolve to Succeed podcast.
Morning, Warren. Thank you for the invite. Appreciate it.
Brilliant. I'm really looking forward to our conversation. I think there's so much we're going to talk to you about, acquiring the business from your dad, being in business with your brothers, that kind of tech, telecom sector, what's happening in that. There's so much for us to cover, and we'll finish our conversation with some quick fire questions.
Okay, great. Love those.
But we should kick off with, obviously, your dad started the business, founded the business.
91,
In 1991.
Yes.
What year did you get involved with
99,
the business?
about 8 years later.
And was that always part of your
No
life
way.
plan?
Not even on the agenda. Never considered it at all. It was, I'd happily been paper rounding, milk rounding, every other job you'd do to earn money. So I enjoyed earning money, but never once did I consider that as an opportunity. I didn't really get on with Dad that much, as in personally, at that period of time in my life anyway, as in we didn't really see loads of each other. I was already kind of going down my own little path as a teenager. Mum and Dad had split up, so naturally, you find your own ways. Your relationships aren't necessarily, from that background, you just do your own thing, and I was doing my own thing, and I was working, but definitely never thought.
So how did it come about then?
So I'd gone, I'd been asked to leave home at 17. That was fine, deserved that, needed that, and it was good life skill. But I think ultimately I'd been living with random people. I'd kind of got to the point where I probably needed a bit more stability. Dad actually asked me if I wanted to move in with him. That gave me a kind of a building block to, get paying rent and knowing where I was. He had a studio flat at the back of his house. He then, said, "Oh, you can go down there now." I was like, "Absolutely fine. That's fine." Got my own space. And our relationship kind of built on that. We spent more time together. Yeah. And then one day he said, "Oh, one of my salesmen have left. Do you want to come and work for me?" And I went, well, at that time, I thought I had a guaranteed job down at Magellan, down at Wallace Down Road. Okay. I kind of thought to myself, it was progress chasing. I was pushing bits of metal around, didn't really have any purpose. And I was like, well, yeah, okay, fine, let's give it a go. And that's how it kind of happened.
Do you look back on that as a kind of one of those kind of sliding doors moments?
Well, if you see it where I'm sat now and within the business and how the business is.
And what you've achieved and everything you've done.
Then it was. But at the time, if I'd been given that job as a progress chaser, I would have said no to Dad.
Right.
But I was on the agency and it didn't materialise. And I was like, well,
give it
it's just a job, isn't it? It's another job. So let's give it, have a go.
And when did that change? When did it stop being just a job?
Weirdly, I guarantee I took it seriously from the word go, because even though I was working for my dad, and for me that was quite big, and obviously I value family. I definitely value family. It's a very big thing for me. So
I'm sure that's going to come across a lot in this podcast.
Potentially, yeah. So it's like I already took it seriously. I already wanted to enjoy it, but I didn't know what the journey was entailed. This was a completely different job to me. Paper rounding, McDonald's, whatever you want to talk about. This was admin. This was customers, this was people, this was technology. It was nothing I'd ever done.
Yeah.
So I just, at the time, I was just bumbling my way along. It's still in my own personal journey with this kind of business thing and my dad, working with my dad. It was just, and then just made it up. I generally made it up as went along.
Yeah.
The whole thing was, interesting.
Interesting journey.
It was because,
but it gave you a sort of more stable. From what you've alluded to, it gave you this stable environment to build your life from.
100%, yeah. But I was, funny enough, at that time, I was just happy that I was earning money and I could pay for what I wanted to do, and I could have a life with the money I earn. I wasn't really much further along than that.
Yeah.
So this was just stable, and as you just said, and it was just to helping me do what I wanted, how I wanted to live. It wasn't much more than that.
And I bet you never envisaged 25 years later you'd still be in the business and you'd own the business.
Well, no, not especially after the first couple of years when you're getting sacked 10 times and telling them to fuck off 15 and, and your relationship's blowing off the, you don't think you're going to get past that bit. That's quite, you've got a father and son, both with different ideas, both with different personalities, but strangely seem to have our business views were quite aligned.
Okay.
But naturally, that the line between dad and boss and everything that goes with it was blurred. And
that's the difficulty a lot of family businesses have, isn't it?
100%. I hear. I mean, I know what I experienced it was, but for some reason it didn't deter us. You say being sacked, whatever. I'm walking out, whatever. It didn't deter us from continuing that journey. We just cracked up. Maybe he could see. And I could see the benefit of being there. He could see the benefit of me. I don't know. We just didn't allow it to.
It's just an interesting dynamic, isn't it?
It
because
was.
In any other environment where he was purely your boss.
Yeah.
And he said, you're gone, and you say, fuck off.
Yeah.
That'd have been the end of it. But because you've got family.
Yes.
And your father and son.
Yes.
You found the common ground again and continued to build.
Yeah, 100%. Yeah. We didn't allow it to finish us, basically. Yeah. Even though he actually used those words once. Right. You're finished. I was like, that's a bit harsh. But it was only in the heat of the moment. I'm telling you, once we both got blowing, because I had a bad temper anyway.
Right.
Like then.
Yeah.
And he was definitely hot-headed.
Yeah.
The whole of the Esso garage knew what was going on when we were going off. The window was open.
For the listeners, your office and shop is right next door to the Esso station in Charminster in Bournemouth.
Honestly, in the summer, the windows were open, and while we were absolutely giving it some in his office, like literally next door, I'm sure I've seen someone like with a pump just literally pouring petrol on the floor. They're literally like, what is going off in there? And it was no holds barred. But it was, but I think it was more, it was a lot of passion in there as well. It wasn't necessarily all the.
And it was that passion, I assume, that then started to help build the business.
100%, yeah.
So in 99, what was the business like at that point? Was it you, him, and another?
No. Strangely, when I came in, there was 2 other salesmen. There was Dad. He had a partner, and there was also a lady there called Christine, who's actually still with me now.
Wow.
And during that course, the next couple of years, I just fed and learned and moved from doing the admin and writing out paperwork and stuff to understanding the phone and the sales and how that all worked. And then eventually, these 2 other salespeople left the business, wanted to go and do whatever they wanted to do. And I said, don't bother employing anybody, I'll do it all.
Right.
And that was kind of then the platform then to earning and the platform to building up, even more information.
So that was the turning point.
100%.
When I said earlier, when did you start to take it seriously?
Yeah.
Probably was a moment in time.
Yeah. Now that I've kind of circumvented that whole thing you asked me and then finally got here 5 minutes later, then yes, completely. That was where I kind of realised that I was going to take the responsibility on, and I think I was aware that was the case, and that was ready for me to start putting back in properly into the business.
When you look at the business, obviously now you do the breadth of comms, don't you?
Yes, we do. Yeah,
you do everything.
Yes, we do.
Comms related.
100%.
Were you only mobiles?
100%. Yeah, mobile was the only thing that there was.
Yeah,
landlines randomly, they weren't even part of the comms concept.
No.
It's mobiles from 86 to, probably around about 2006. Then the landline and the broadband was kind of, we were made aware of it. We knew it was an additional part of business. And that's when we then drove into that side, to complement the whole comms package.
Okay. To give that breadth at that point.
Yeah, 100%. And then from there, that kind of carried on till we stayed out of the phone system game until we could kind of manage it. We didn't really want anybody else in the business. We wanted to be able to supply, install, do the whole thing. So the phone system side, we didn't even go into that till 2016, till we realised broadband was man enough to deliver a reasonable hosted VoIP platform.
Yeah.
One where you could actually talk to people without it kicking in and out, basically.
And how, over the years, for the business to survive in that sector for so long, I mean, even, the mobile, started as the brick, and it then became just a handset.
Yes.
Clearly now you've got mobile devices that do anything and everything.
Yeah,
for
completely.
You.
Yeah.
How have you been able to keep on top as a business, as a small independent business?
Yes.
Of all that technology?
No idea. I honestly haven't really stopped to think. We've never gone on any courses. I've never Googled or understood what the thing does. I've just kind of, as it's happened, I mean, if I could take it back to the Nokia, And the actual payment plans with the mobile networks, I'd go all the way back to pre-2008 because that was just
Were they the glory days?
bloody delightful.
Yeah.
It was unbelievable. All you had to do was transfer someone's numbers from a phone to a SIM card, pop it back in the other Nokia and say, see you later, thank you very much.
Yeah.
30 days later, the network pays you, money made, job done, dusted, off you go.
Yeah, because I suppose that's it. I'm talking about the technology, but your whole business model and how you generate revenues changed.
100%.
Everybody was changing their phone every 12 months, weren't they? Whereas now they're hold on to 2-3 years plus.
Yeah. But also, I mean, obviously, the difference was there wasn't anything that exciting. Obviously, they introduced the first camera phone at some point along that journey, around about 2006. But it wasn't like setting the world alight. But most people only changed their phone when it was letting them down as well. Yeah. I mean, it was us that forced, kind of encouraged people to change their phones. Because, people just loved upgrading anyway.
Yeah, that's what I
mean. Had a colour screen. Now it's got a camera.
Technology was moving so fast that people were changing quite
100%, 100%. And but it was more us trying to make sure that there was the advantage of reducing your costs slightly and getting a phone. It was all very touchy-feely, nicey. People wanted to do it.
Yeah.
And as I said, the networks were so behind us. They wanted everybody to have a mobile phone in their hand. It didn't matter what it cost.
Yeah.
It was random money. I remember one SIM card I sold. It was just on a package at a company that we looked after. The network paid £16,000 for a SIM card, because it had a load of minutes and a huge line rental attached to it. They used to base how they paid something on the line rental that they were going to be bringing in, not on the actual value of the client.
Weird.
Yeah, it was mental, and that's where 2008 rocked it, because then they went, well, this is bloody stupid. We are literally throwing money out everywhere just to pay somebody for a phone that they've already got. And that's when they then moved to a model where they then drove it down to a percentage of the line rental. So now you've got actually a percentage of the line rental, and what that looked like is how you then...
More traditional revenue share model, I suppose.
Completely. Yeah. And that was how you would then supply your mobile phone, which was an absolute...
How did you transcend the business through that change?
That was mental. That was mad. We went home at the end of September, whatever the last day was, don't even want to remember, and come back in October, first day of that, whatever that was, and they basically said, you're going to go from this model where you can just chuck something at it and make something 30 days to you're going to get 40% of whatever you bill your client.
Yeah.
And day one, loads of our line rentals were only like £11.91, so you're only getting given £4, up front for 2 years, £48, and the cheapest phone in your cupboard's like 55. How do you make money out of that? So I just sat there for a month, didn't even do any business.
Right. Didn't even trying to work it out.
Didn't even make a phone call. Couldn't even bother. I don't know where to go. How am I meant to give somebody something out of that? But we did get our heads down, and we kind of did a forecast for 24 months, try to work out where the revenue was coming from, overspend, and try budget in everything that they claimed you could have.
Yeah.
If you become the bank of the network, and just bundled our way through, but we needed deep pockets to invest in initially. But the test of that was that we come out of that after 2 years. It was rocking and rolling, and there was a viable model.
Yeah.
But then you look at the yellow pages, and there was 10 yellow pages of mobile phone companies. We were down to 1.
Right. So market share just
increased. It knocked out 60% at least. It just people just weren't ready for it.
But I suppose
including us.
And I suppose that's the hard work of your dad and you, and I suppose your brothers might have been. We'll talk about your brothers coming into the business in a minute, but that's that hard work and that legacy of creating a great business on solid foundations.
Yes.
That when others struggle because they haven't been running it in a proper manner,
we were lucky.
You could trade through it.
We were lucky. We'd kind of moved from consumer base to more of a business base.
Yeah.
The consumer base was they wanted to do it themselves. They couldn't handle the business base, so that transition had got us in a decent place. Dad had started that, so he got it into we were a bit more resilient, and then the rest of it was just down to trust and relationships.
Wow.
As well, because really you're a couple of people. I remember offering them what I was offering them, which was a basic Nokia, and saying you just got to take this really. And they're like, well, I really like that. I'm like, you can't have it, and but you will be able to, but you just can't have it right now. And then fortunately they went on that journey with us, because that was a big part of it. It wasn't just down to us; it was down to the client as well.
Yeah, and not all of our listeners are local, but the ones that are local have heard of Town and Country and the great reputation that you have. But that is based upon really happy customers.
100%.
And I think the business has always had that reputation,
100%.
hasn't it?
Well, I don't know about the reputation. I jumped in then. But I mean, we've definitely 100% had very lovely, loyal customers. I hope the reputation does proceed.
And as a result, you only have those happy, loyal customers if you look after them. And
that's the idea.
So what is those principles that you've got behind client experience and satisfaction? What makes it so good?
Well, you get a gauge. You get a gauge from your client set. When you've looked after people for a certain period of time, fortunately at that crossroads, a lot of the clients we'd had been with us, for at least minimum 8 years, longer with Dad, probably more like 13. Yeah. We've already got that kind of, trust, and we've already got that kind of relationship. I think when I came into the business, Dad could just sell a phone for the sake of selling a phone. Everyone just needed a phone. It was so easy. I say it's easy to sell. That's not being disrespectful, but you could just pump a phone in someone's hand. The model started to change because people started to give away phones for free, and the way you had to look after people. It wasn't just about the device anymore. It was about the package. It was about the service. So I think I kind of introduced more of a service, more of a retention kind of approach, which meant you'd put a bit more into just selling a phone. You had to look at the whole package. And I think that then built a stronger relationship with the client. I think the main things for me is you've got to be able to have fun with them.
Yeah.
It's absurd that it needs to be a sale. It's not a sale. It's a transaction. You're both having a conversation together. I want it to be 5 minutes phone, 15 minutes if they can stand it. Fun conversation, just a nice relationship. Know. I think that's the main thing, because that then gives you a nice basis for a long-term relationship. Yeah. If you know each other more than just a transaction, then the relationship's stronger anyway.
Yeah, if you invest in the relationship both ways, everybody wins.
Yeah, but I actually like chatting, so it's not really that big a deal. I mean, and I definitely don't like chatting about mobile, so it was even better then, because I can have a chat about things I want to chat about, So that worked for me. And then I think off the back of that, it's knowing what they need. I think that's important. I think, it's so easy to sell. I learned a lot of lessons in the first 8 years, because I always... Initially, I'd sell what I think was best for me. I'd do what I thought was best for me. I wouldn't do what I didn't want to do. You learned a few harsh lessons along the way. In the end, I think some of those lessons where you upset somebody, where you haven't paid attention, where you swept something under the carpet, they're all big things. And then eventually you just think, well, do you know what? We know what we're doing. We know what we're looking at. We know what hopefully would make a client and a customer happy. So let's just build those things in and make sure we deliver it,
Yeah, and that philosophy changed around 2008
100%, yeah, a bit earlier, just slightly earlier, but more so when you had to find a better way of selling yourself, the product, the package. Absolutely. You did, and it's important. I think it was... But the main thing is just like, we do treat everyone like our friends. We know that friendly relationship can go either way occasionally, but... we feel like we're in a better place. We feel like we're in a happy place.
I suppose you are a family independent business.
Yes.
And therefore you want people to engage with you.
100%.
Because you're a family and you're independent.
Yes.
And you are who you are.
Yeah, definitely.
Rather than go to the corporate kind of business sales manager at Vodafone or...
Yeah, I want to feel like you're sitting down. It's fine. It's happening, We're just, there's nothing to be scared of. We're not trying to second guess each other, And also I think, I want to sell to people how I want to be sold to. Yeah, that's another. I just want to be transparent. Now I love sending an email with it. I'll make sure it's all out there. I'll copy myself in, stick it in a subfolder just in case I need it. But transparency, trust, and just those and that relationship. They're just the main.
And anybody listening to this, it's the way to sell, isn't it?
I think
these sales skills that you've now got.
Yeah.
Are they? Have you ever been on courses?
No.
Has it all been organic?
Never.
Is it things your dad taught you?
Haven't got a clue.
Or is it just the life experience?
Just kind of made it up. It was all completely... I think, as I said, that you can sell something when you know something. Yeah. I think the art of selling, you don't have to sell anything, but if you've got great knowledge, you're confident in what you're selling, I think it sells itself, because you can just happily talk about it. You're not trying to sell anything. No. You're just explaining it. You're just advising. They still make the decision. You're just giving them the information. You know, my brother, he's an out-and-out salesman. You know, he was British Gas on doorsteps, giving it, you know, pumping up with America stuff in the morning. You know, he knows how to sell. I mean, I've just kind of just.
And does he do anything different to you?
Now,
Yeah.
no, again, just there helping, advising. You know, I mean, that old school sales mentality, that was get on the door and get them, you know, signed up. You know, but he now again, all three of us sell the same.
Yeah.
All three of us, it's identical.
So going on to talk about your brothers,
yes.
You've obviously got Carl and JC, and you know yourself in
yes.
the business. When did your two brothers get involved? And again, was that just natural or?
No, so Cole, so basically if we worked out that if we need to recruit somebody, we've got, you know, a load of butlers in the family, and the easiest way to do it is not to go and look elsewhere. We'll just find another butler and see if they're up for a job. So when the landline opportunity came along, we were like, oh, what are we going to do here? Well, it involves sales. We're like, you know, well, Cole's selling. He's on the door. We're like, I'm not sure what he's doing. Where's his head at? You know, do you want to come and do this landline business? He went, yeah, cool. Yeah, I'll do that then. Yeah. So in comes Cole with his absolutely, I say, amazing sales techniques, which we didn't need necessarily, but he already knew it inside out.
But he brought something to the table.
100%.
It's a different perspective.
Yeah.
From outside of the business, he did bring something.
Completely.
You would have adapted to that, wouldn't you?
Yeah.
And taken on some of that.
Yeah, 100%.
Principles
or
way of working.
Yeah, I agree. He's got some. I'll explain later, but he's got some great traits, ones that I wish I could do sometimes, but then I let them do it anyway, because that's the beauty of having a family around you, isn't it? So some things you can do and some things they can do, and that's the beauty of playing to the strengths. But 2006, just needed somebody else, and Carl, do you fancy your job? He's like, yeah, okay, let's do it, and he comes.
Brilliant. And JC?
So then JC, he had 2 stints. Yeah, the first one he came in a little bit younger. You would definitely agree, slightly more wet behind the ears, definitely at an age where he's probably not ready to really settle down, and that lasted a couple of years, and then he just decided he needed to go to Australia and travel the world, and see you later, guys. So I was like, that's absolutely superb, see you later. So that was, and the reason for him coming in wasn't anything to do with an area of the business, as far as it was admin.
Right.
We just needed somebody on that admin-y self-support desk, so his role was that.
You come back, you've done your travelling.
Yeah, so he's
come back in.
And he come back in again. Yeah, we come back, done that, and again we were like, right, we need somebody else. We're moving in the right direction, and that was probably around about 2009, I think.
Okay.
Yeah.
So you've been for 15 years.
Yeah.
You've been as a group of brothers.
Yeah.
In the business together.
Yeah.
And I'm interested to know how the dynamic changed, because you've been really honest to talk about that relationship with your dad and how that was kind of fiery, but it worked.
Yeah.
Surely once you introduce, you know, Carl, then JC, did that change that dynamic at all?
It was interesting. We're different. We're very similar characters.
Okay.
We're all quite bouncy, hopefully. We're all quite enthusiastic. You know, we've got that. That bit works. That's the same for most butlers. But it's
a butler trait.
It tends to be, because I'm looking at my son and he's absolutely flying off the walls as well now as well. So, which is great to see, because I love it. But we definitely were different dynamics in the business.
Okay.
100% different. We obviously I was kind of taking up, I assume, the mantle of dad, and I was kind of working towards, you know, ultimately looking deeper into the business, understanding the business more. You know, Cole was an out-and-out salesperson, so he was just terrific when it come to whatever needed to be got over the line. And JC, we didn't necessarily know his purpose, because obviously we took him as just a, can you just help out? We need a bum on a seat. But ultimately, we all have a different value in the business. We've all gained a different value in the business. I think as far as the question of working together, it's hard. You go through different stages. You know, one minute I thought we all needed to be the same. That was frustrating.
Yeah.
Carl wasn't the same in business. JC wasn't the same in business. You know, Dad wasn't the same in business. We were all working in the same business, but we were different. But I just thought, we have to be the same. Where the bloody hell? How does this move forward? If he's like, yeah, you know, not really that interested, and he's like, yeah, I'm up for a good night out, and I'm thinking, well, this business needs to keep on going forward, and you know, Dad's thinking, I'm going to retire. I'm thinking, so I don't know. It's hard to explain. It's I think again we just stuck to the family. The family thing was the important bit. You know, we were just family, and you find a way. You know,
Brilliant.
you work it through. You know,
I love that. We're just a family, and we found a way.
we did. It was a bloody complete. You know, arguments. You know, oh Christ. You know,
Yeah.
weapon, as in like, you know, 1 minute someone's got a snooker cue or whatever's hanging around just because didn't use it, you know, but it's there, you know. But then so much laughter, so much giggling,
Yeah.
you know, and yeah, it's just I don't know how we've all it's a beautiful thing, but it's just crazy. You can't put it into words.
Yeah, definitely.
No.
A very quick break from this week's episode, which I hope you're enjoying. If you are enjoying, please remember, do help us and help yourself to make sure you don't miss an episode by subscribing and reviewing the episode. So that's it. Short interlude from me. Let's get back to the conversation. So, brothers are all in the business.
Yes, we are.
Dad was owning the business.
Correct. Yes.
At what point did this conversation start about actually we now actually need, you know, it's all right, it's all being in the business.
Yes.
But at some point, because this is where a lot of family businesses fail,
Yes.
is we've got to transition ownership from generation to generation.
Yeah, I agree. Yeah.
Can you remember the first conversations that you and your dad ever had around that subject?
All I remember, I always think things, but I don't necessarily say anything. And I kind of
Okay.
adapt to the way of the lie of the land. I'm quite flexible. I definitely am. I'm not kind of pushy. I'm happy where I am. I rationalise things.
Yeah.
I try and not have to have uncomfortable or awkward conversations. Randomly, you know, taking the journey back of the business. 2008 was a big change, like we all had, but it was very significant, obviously, the way of the platform. 2016 was another weird. It's every 8 years in our business.
Right.
It is, genuinely. 2016, we decided that the model we were using, we wanted to go our own, go wholesale, supply mobile in a completely different way without the networks, and bill our customers and manage our customers. So that was another big
Okay.
change in the industry where we had to suck it all up again, take
Yeah,
the stock
take the
costs,
risk. Yeah.
you know, move on, bill our customers, and hope that it all worked out and everybody said, yes, we're coming with you and we're not staying where we are.
Right.
That worked,
Yeah.
thank God. Then 2017 was when the actual conversation did begin.
Yeah.
And strangely, it was not forced at all.
No.
It wasn't me saying, hi, Dad, what's going on? Where are you?
Banging the
Where
table,
am
I need ownership.
Where are we? As in the brothers
Yeah.
and everything. I think our younger brother was playing tennis. Dad naturally was out of the office more. A couple of years running up towards that, 2 or 3 years running up towards that. And that was fine because we were all just cracking on, working in the business, enjoying the business. But then I think naturally maybe he thought, you know, the technology was moving on quick. Maybe he was thinking, this is maybe, I don't necessarily want to go back. I think it was, I can't speak on his behalf, but I think it was kind of, he'd come away from the office. He'd been taken away from the office, which naturally kind of gave him probably a chance to think, you know, do I want this anymore? Is this where, you know, my working journey?
And what a great opportunity for the business to be able to give him to take time out.
100%. So he did that, and then they moved on, and then technology, and he's probably looking at customers thinking, I don't really want to have to kiss you anymore or talk to you anymore. I can't do this anymore. I've sold too much. I've spoken too much. And I think he just said, you know, we need to have a look at the structure of the business, how I move away from the business. And he brought the conversation up and off it went, really.
Yeah.
So it was nice because it wasn't forced. It wasn't anything. It just, and you know what? You know, with these situations, it could have always happened sooner. It could happen later. At that moment in time, it was happening, and it was fine. It was good. It was good. It was good that it was being brought up.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And when you look back at that element, is there anything you do differently, or words of advice you'd give to somebody that's in a business, perhaps thinking about doing a management buyout,
Yes.
or, you know, buying the business from the previous generation?
I mean, obviously, look. So we maybe planned for it a little bit earlier.
Okay.
You know, I think it was quite full on. It was quite that year, or however long it took, come up 18 months. It's quite full on. It's more full on as well because I say it's more full on. It's full on for everybody who's going through that process. You know, you're finding out exactly what this all looks like. You're finding out what the next stage looks like. You're finding out what this thing's going to cost. Let's not leave the money out of it. You know, it's scary.
Yeah.
It's really unknown. I think if I had the opportunity, I've learned through that experience. So I can't really say what I think Dad should have done, but I can think of what I would now do.
Yeah.
And if I was in a position where I was passing it on to anybody else or my son, I'd probably have started the planning for it earlier, and then made the last bit of the process, the transition, slightly more gentle, either in form of a conversation or maybe even financially as well, because it's a scary conversation. It's a really hard one as well, because you've all got your own interpretation of how that should look.
It's interesting, isn't it? And I always, like, in a traditional, I'm going to buy a business or a management buyout that hasn't got family in it, everybody can resort to their positions.
Yes.
And it can get a bit tetchy.
Yes.
And you can get to the end and you can get the right result for everybody. But within the family business, you've got that dynamic that, well, we're still a family. But to make a proper transaction work, everybody needs to win, don't they?
Maybe.
And that's quite hard.
Maybe.
Sometimes.
Do you know what? I look back at it and I know exactly what it was. And as said, I've had to make a transaction to acquire an IT business since, and I definitely did it differently to the way that that previous transaction happened between me and Dad. There's more emotion, I think, when you're in family.
Yeah.
You can't get that emotion away, you know. Dad's got a different view on how he does things. I've got a different view on how I do things. We've definitely got a different view on how we sometimes see things.
Yeah. But you've got to bring all of that together, do a transaction and stay together.
And keep us all happy.
Yeah.
And keep us all moving and keep the whole vehicle going. And the only way to surmise that being done is it could have always been more, it could have always been less. Yeah. It is what it was, you know. I'm not going to fall out with anybody over money. No. And if they need it more than me, then they can have it. I really don't mind, you know. We'll work it out somewhere later on. I just, there was more to it than that.
Yeah.
And it didn't, and the ultimate goal was the fact that the family, everybody had some kind of benefit from it, and everyone had some success out of it, and everyone had some succession out of it, and whatever the rest of it looked like, where are you going to go with it?
Yeah. And how does it, so how long ago was that?
So that was 2017, end of 2017.
So how does it feel now being the owner of that business, you know, with your brothers? Because it is a joint.
100%, yeah.
So everybody's got a bit of ownership.
Yeah,
everybody's got skin in the game.
100%, yeah.
But clearly you are driving that business.
Yeah, but I think...
How does that dynamics kind of work?
Okay, then, so... Again, as I was saying, so 2008, big change, 2016, big change. And then strangely, last year, we fulfilled the buyout of Dad in 2024.
Right. So paid last payment done.
Yeah, so this 8-year thing's happening. And so
it's
I can't wait.
In 2032.
I can't wait. I'm excited. It's happening. Something big's going off. Big. And I can't wait to see it. Do you know what? I think the biggest thing for me, I think, again, Dad or yourself, you know, when you do what you do, it's your first time round, there's no, you have to rationalize so many things, you know, because especially when you're dad and son and stuff, but obviously even yourself potentially, you kind of, there's never a wrong way, there's just something you might have potentially done differently. And it's not necessarily that no one's fault how they do things, because sometimes first time round, how you better bloody know anyway. So you have to balance it all out. I think for me, the biggest thing I kind of learned along the way is I want to make sure moving forward there's transparency.
Okay.
I think I earn what I earn, the boys earn what they earn. My percentage in the business is slightly larger, theirs is slightly smaller, for example. But there's reasons for that. And a lot of it's kind of historic.
Yeah.
It's not actually just, oh wow, I'm here, I'm, you know.
Yeah. I'm the eldest type thing, yeah.
None of that.
Yeah.
I don't agree with that at all, because obviously from the day that I had the opportunity to we had the opportunity to take over the business, I've tried to balance out how we move forward at the same rate. It's not about percentages. It's not about, you know, you've got that, that's how we take it. We are where we were when Dad transferred the business to us, and we will continue now to grow together.
So you'll share.
However, as much to the ability... The 51% to me, it's a figure. It just stops us kicking the shit out of each other.
Right.
I feel like I'm the most, and this is where the dynamics are. So basically, Carl, you know, Carl's very cautious.
Yeah.
You know, we call him, you know, Mr. No Man. He'd say no to everything. But if we said no to the things,
even with that sales background,
he's very, very cautious, very no-y.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, which I hate.
Yeah. But it's a good dynamic to have
But,
as a sounding board in a
but
business.
I've got over the fact that I don't want us to all be the same, like I was saying earlier. Actually, this is a bloody good trait.
Yeah.
And 1 in 10, it'll come up trumps. And then we call, and then there's JC. JC's very erratic. We call him the kid in the sweet shop. He just wants it now. He's all over it. He's got ideas flooding out, but his energy and his the way he runs the business, the way he works in the business, his dedication to the business, his general just family business. You can't fault it. You can't fault Coles either, actually.
No.
Regardless of that, you can't both of them 100%. We're the business. We business first, us later.
And
it
all goes hand in hand. Respect everybody's positions.
It all goes hand in hand.
So what would they describe you as then? If one's the cautious one and one's the energy.
Well, I was going to describe myself as balanced. I was going to describe myself as just bringing the balance.
Okay.
That was all.
So listening to both of those opinions.
Well, not necessarily that. No, I do. No, we do. We do chat. But yeah, just kind of finding always a middle.
Yeah.
But not always being right.
Okay.
You can't be.
No.
And we've got a rule, and it's really simple, and I've got to adhere to it as well. And if 2 out of 3, you're done.
Okay.
Done. Not interested. Even if, unfortunately, I'm the one, I'm done. Because it just, I trust our opinion. I trust we've got aligned values, we've got aligned goals.
Yeah. You're sharing in the rewards.
Everything.
Aren't you? So if 2 out of 3 say
it's done.
Done.
Yeah, really, I 100%. We haven't. I can't remember a scenario where we've had it yet, but
right.
if the rule kicks in, it's in.
Right.
100%, and it's not Big Brother stamps and all that crap. I'm like,
brilliant.
we have to. You've got to step down.
Yeah.
The Big Brother thing went a long time ago. I'm still the Big Brother,
Yeah.
but I don't need to be the Big Brother anymore. They're big enough themselves.
So what does motivate you, Lee? Because you talk about money not being a driver.
No.
So what does motivate you?
100% flexibility. Balance, flexibility. I think we, coming from a background where your dad starts a business and he has to put a lot of time into that, we miss Dad. As in it wasn't just the business. It was obviously, when your parents go through a divorce, you naturally, things change. That's it. Whatever it is, and that's the way it is. Yeah. But for that reason, some of it, even down to Dad, I was telling you, like during my teenage years, I was much happier being down the park.
Yeah.
Smoking a fag, drinking some Mad Dog 2020. Dad's like, come and stay with me on Wednesday. I'm like, fuck that. I've got much better things going on. And then by the time you're kind of getting older and everything, that you don't need that relationship anymore because. No. Now I'm 17 to 20 and I fucking know everything anyway. So I don't even need anybody like Dad in my life. We're just cracking on. So you kind of, what we did miss though was having that connection with Dad.
Yeah. It
through
took
whatever
time to rebuild it. And the business has enabled you to rebuild it.
Yeah, 100%. Yeah, it has. And unfortunately, Dad's built a business. We've all come into it. The foundations were there. We've then kind of added to those foundations. And I think the drivers for me and the boys, and we wouldn't have been able to achieve it if, it hadn't got as far along. The business wasn't as far along as it was. It didn't have the right people in it. It didn't have the right setup. We really wanted to be dads. We all want to be dads. And that's given us the opportunity to be dads.
So that's the flexibility, is time with the family.
100%. Yeah, it's just... I say we haven't missed out. Nothing. It doesn't matter. It's fine. But it's just something that I think it resonated with us.
Yeah.
And we will, and for years I saw, it's weird when you're a younger child. You see that as I saw it as my dad's fault up until I was about 25. That's why I thought our relationship was slightly strained. Taking it back to the beginning.
Yeah.
Because I thought, well, where were you? And when you were, what were you doing? But when you've worked within the business, I kind of did grasp where Dad had gone.
Yeah.
It doesn't
you
make
appreciated
up for...
what he'd done with that
100%,
time. Yeah.
100%. And then you kind of like... And then for me, I mean, I didn't really get into a serious relationship until I was 30. So, luckily I'd got all my stuff out of my way. I really enjoyed myself. And I was coming to the stage where I wanted the family life. I'd been in the business long enough. All of the things were kind of aligning.
Yeah.
And then, by the time you're married at 34, Teddy comes along at 36, and we're already doing the business transition a year later. The times, it all aligned.
Yeah.
Everything's aligned, and everything's kind of ready to go. All the things I could have dreamt of, as in having this flexibility, being able to go on a Friday afternoon and jump in a swimming pool for an hour and do Ring of Roses with my 6-month-old. It was all there. It was there.
And I was going to say, how do you make sure that flexibility does manifest itself? Because it's great to say, I want balance, I want flexibility. And it's great that all three of you are in that place.
Yes.
As, all wanting that same thing.
Yes.
But in reality, can be quite hard to achieve, can't it?
Yes.
So how have you enabled it to manifest itself?
Well, sometimes some of these things come through bad experiences. And at 30 years old, I had a very bad experience. My head kind of just went. It went full depression, anxiety, panic attacks. There was a lot of change. It's funny, there was a lot of change going on. Around about 28, I realised I was getting very, very stressed. And I really didn't like the kind of person I was becoming in the business. I thought money was the be all and end all, but then I realised that it really wasn't. It wasn't necessarily making me happy. So I decided that I wanted to change who I was, what I was, and the things that I really cared about weren't necessarily what I thought I cared about. By doing so, I kind of slowed down my whole self because I thought this is not the way to live. The things that I thought made me happy aren't. The pace I'm running at is ridiculous. I'm stressed out. I'm not sleeping. And so that, coupled with meeting my new wife, which is the first woman I thought I'm going to truly give a chance to, maybe that could be the woman I want to be with, just that whole few changes just threw me. Right. I just lost my identity overnight. I didn't know. I'd gone from this, what appeared to be cocky, confident, out there, give it large, to suddenly I don't know who I am.
Wow.
I didn't know who I was. I just, it was depression. It was 100% depression. It was voice in my head, a bit it was weird. It was, I don't want to label on it too long, but it was a very defining moment.
And how did you come through that defining moment?
This was a big life skill for me. I've always tried to do everything on behalf of everybody. I've always tried to resolve everything on behalf of everybody, and I've always been very insular, always up to that point. And at that moment in time, I needed help, and I asked for it, and I just kind of opened up, and out of nowhere, for the first time in my 30 years, I stopped carrying it all, and I stopped thinking I could solve it all, and I was like, oh shit, I'm in trouble. And by doing that, I kind of then, just opened up the conversation with the family, the brothers and everything, and I had to let myself be vulnerable for once and take the help. And it was amazing.
Amazing achievement, Lee.
That was amazing. Yeah, it was amazing. And then it just kind of gave you this whole new coping mechanism. It gave you a whole new reflection on everything. It was great, but it was all part of the bigger picture where you were saying to get into the point of flexibility and everything. I think I was making my way towards something, but I wasn't really sure what that looked like.
But post that becomes the priority,
100%.
And therefore, I suppose to answer that question, I suppose it's just you just grow the business, develop the business to allow flexibility is the number one thing.
Well, one of I say that to get to knowing the flex to achieving that, I needed to go through a situation I really wouldn't have wanted to or wouldn't want anyone to. But then it was as I said, a load of the other things just started to align themselves. It's weird. I think sometimes
it's that power of attraction people
talk about,
isn't it? When you know you want something deep down.
And I think, we, between me and the brothers, we kind of knew what we wanted, and we started to have the, children and stuff. And I think all of it was just, I think the art to it is not just to run all the time.
No.
I think sometimes you need to slow down, reset. And then they started to all just kind of, things dropped into, you can't, again, sometimes these things you can't explain, but they have happened. Yeah. And they've happened in what I believe is a really good way, in line with me, my age, my stage, my mentality, my everything. Some of these things just drop in. I don't think you're necessarily doing it on purpose, but you're kind of knowing that what you don't like, you don't want to, you're trying to change. But I think you can't rush anything.
No.
Rushing anything's just, it's stupid.
But that can be difficult in this kind of go
Oh, it's too
world
much.
in which we live, doesn't it? And our kids are growing up in even more of that
100%.
kind of pace of life, isn't
They
it?
are.
And wanting everything today and
They are.
that realization.
But I probably couldn't have got to that stage without the people that were around me, though. So, some of us might not have that.
No.
I had, say we had brothers that also wanted similar.
Yeah.
It wasn't. This was something it was more in the heart. This isn't something to do with anything other than we would like to be present. We would like to have, these were our ideals. So I think we kind of, we built a great framework. I had to I used to do everything myself at work. I had to let go. I had to let go everything. I was like, I can only do it. I have to carry this whole bloody. That situation, if I had maybe had that at 30, I don't think I would have let go of anything. I could have just carried on going the same way I was, and I could probably be exactly where I was 14 years ago. So it wasn't great, but it was defining. Yeah. Because I had to then build from that again. I had to discover me. And I think then that journey, then with the brothers, it all
it all came into place.
We're all kind of walking in the same path.
What does your vision for the business look like, given that context, given everything that's gone on?
Yeah. What's
your aspirations and dreams for the business from this point forward?
I think you've got to be aware that I feel like getting this many years into the comms industry and still being where we are and relatively successful with a great client base, which is actually giving us the lives that we're very happy with and the flexibility that we're very happy with. It's really hard to foresee, how long I don't know how, you feel like you shouldn't be here still anyway. You feel like this technology should have bombed us out. You feel like the bigger boys should have bombed us out. And we're just negotiating our way. I ultimately love the idea of selling the business. I personally don't see us passing it down either.
No,
I'm going to do everything in my power
for Teddy
and all of our families
nieces,
to ensure between us that we give our children slightly different opportunities and gear them up for because to all of us in the end, the only reason we've ended up where we ended up was because of our surname. It wasn't defined. It wasn't a part of a big tapestry. It just bloody ended up. You've got a Butler surname. Do you want to come and work here, mate? Yeah, cool. So I think all of us have kind of let our children explore and understand,
be who they want to be,
what's out there, and I'm really not trying to create room for them in the business. So ultimately, I'd love to think that someone would love what we've got, and someone would love the opportunity of having what we can provide them, and a bigger business having that on their business, and them swallowing us up. Really, yeah. Well, obviously. It'd be funny though, because I always thought if this business did come along, they'd probably need us for a bit because I've seen some businesses in my industry sell recently, and the relationship, these people are normally smaller, and they don't necessarily retain any of that business because they were there for the relationship.
Well, there's a reason.
Like we all are.
Well, you've used Town and Country for over 10 years plus, and the only reason we continue to use is that it's exactly what you're talking about. It's the relationship.
Yes.
Great customer service.
Yes.
Having some fun along the way.
Yes. I think the main thing is, I've got goals, but they don't have timescales.
Okay.
I can make my way towards them at some point.
So what do those goals look like then?
Well, I've achieved one. I got really excited last year because I kind of got a little Porsche Taycan, and I'm not a car person, but I love the idea. If I was going to drive a car one day, it would have a little Porsche badge. Yeah. So that was a nice little tick. And I tell you, the electric grant helped it along because you could balance the books and drive the car. That was nice.
You justified it.
I really enjoyed that one. And the other one was I've been in the same house for 18 years.
Right.
But being in that house for 18 years has allowed me to help family out in different ways. And it's allowed me to stay less stressed. It's allowed me to enjoy better quality of life, but I've got one house move in me. Right. But all of these things, I think the patience side of it's come from the fact that these goals, set all these goals probably around about 30, 31, after this, whatever, I kind of set it then. And the reason I've never been fudgy about them, but I want to achieve them still, is because in the business, there was still a hierarchy and a succession, and none of that could happen until somebody decided that could happen.
Yeah.
And that's fine.
And that's now opened the doors to enabling it.
But also it's kind of made me not so fudgy about it. Yeah. It's made me less I'm still just as determined. I still want to achieve it, but I'm not impatient.
Okay.
I'm not rushed. I've had to wait, and waiting's fine,
Brilliant.
because the good things come to those who wait. It's a bit cliche, isn't it?
Yeah. No,
but it does,
it's
though,
lovely.
But that's how
it's a great philosophy to
that's
have.
how it's worked. It's how it's worked. And I think
Because I'm not hearing, so sometimes you'd worry about that you're hearing, well, I've got some goals and it'll happen type thing. But you're not saying that. I think you've got a determination of focus to achieve.
100%.
But you've got this inner patience that if you work hard, it will come.
Yeah, I think it's weird. So at the time, I would have rather had it earlier. Let's be honest.
Yeah.
Everyone wants it earlier.
Yeah.
I would rather have it before. I haven't had it before. But actually, when you look at it, does it really matter? Has it changed anything? Am I looking back and thinking I missed out on anything? No, nothing's changed. If anything, more beautiful things have come along by waiting. I'm being dad, spending time with the family, being with my brothers in the business, loads.
Yeah.
There's
you
so
could have
many...
put yourself under pressure, got the big mortgage, done the house move, bought the flash car earlier.
Yeah.
But actually, you wouldn't have had those things. And that word flexibility is about not just time, is it? It's having
it's your mind,
energy, and the mind and the resource.
It's another level.
Flexible.
It is, and hopefully we're always here long enough to achieve what we want to achieve. But that isn't fixed either, is it? So you just got to do things. If anyone, I watch people driving at the moment, and they've literally everyone's trying to go somewhere faster, and there's a fucking roundabout and a traffic light everywhere you go. You don't get past by not letting one person out. Ain't going to change your journey. By driving past them and not letting them continue their journey, you're not getting them any quicker. It's ridiculous. So just whatever, it's fine.
Brilliant. I'm loving this conversation, but I do need to start to wrap it up. I'm
That's
loving
fine.
your philosophy.
No problem at all.
Lee. So I'm going to move on to some quick fire questions.
Oh, go on then.
Go on, should we have some fun?
Yeah, why not? Well, I hope so.
Early bird or night owl?
Early bird.
Tea, coffee, or something stronger?
No, definitely tea.
Tea.
Yeah.
You requested a cup of tea as soon as you arrived.
I
didn't
did.
You?
And when I go stronger, it's a litre of vodka, one night on it, and then forget about it for a
Stick
month.
to the tea.
Yeah.
If you weren't in telecoms, what career do you think you would have ended up in?
Well, I don't know what I'd have ended up in, but I would like to work with people.
Okay.
I think from the background, I'd like to work with people and help people.
And how do you unwind after a busy day?
I haven't really got a quick one for that.
You can have a deeper answer.
Yeah, no, to be honest, there isn't anything actually that clever about it, to be honest. Normally it's a dog walk and obviously spend some time with Teddy and Laura.
It's that balance thing.
Really just, we watch football together.
Yeah.
If he's now got me back into FC 25, I think I'm a football manager again. Do you know what? The nicest thing about, especially being a dad and having a child, maybe having a son's helped, no doubt, because he's starting to do the things that I enjoy doing. It's just, I'm just enjoying everything I ever bloody did when I was single with him. It's flipping mental. And you know what, and so I'm getting all that enjoyment again, all over again later on. You can't beat that.
Yeah, it's a great way of describing being a dad, actually.
It's mental.
Yeah.
I'm just the things that I've stopped doing, I've started to do again. But I've got another excuse. Can't go wrong.
Brilliant. Final quick fire question. What's 3 words would you use to describe the Butler-brother relationship?
Fun, crazy, and don't know what word to use. Just implicit trust.
Perfect.
Yeah.
Trust.
Yeah.
Brilliant. What great 3 words.
Yeah.
Fun, crazy,
Yeah.
and trust.
Yeah, you have to have fun. If you don't have fun, there's no point.
Brilliant. And my last question, that how I end every podcast, is that definition. And we've touched on it quite a lot, I think, during the course of this conversation.
Yes.
But what's your definition of personal success? Forget business. What's personal success mean to you?
Well, my biggest one since becoming a dad is my son. My son and how he speaks to me and how he looks at me and how he values me and how he talks to me. I find the business, I think, is kind of where it needs to be. And I think, as I spoke to you before we came in here, I'm lucky I can go away from the office and it runs itself. So I've got trusted people. We've all got the same goal. So I don't really worry about the business. But when I see the things you're teaching your son, and sometimes you feel like it's all falling on deaf ears, and then they do the stuff that you've taught them, or they're telling somebody else at their age the same thing you've told them but chosen to fucking ignore you. You know those things are passing
resonating.
on, and you're hoping those values you're passing on are good values, and just seeing them develop, you know that you've had a hand in that. And I tell you, the nicest thing is the appreciation. When I don't do anything for appreciation, I've always been quite satisfied. I've always had quite a lot of self gratification. But when he just looks around you and you realise that he appreciates and truly values what you've done, but you've never done it for that, I think that's massive for me, because there's another person and another generation that can potentially make a difference and try and strive to have the right outlook.
Beautiful. Well done.
That's it.
And if people want to learn more about Lee,
oh crikey! Well,
I don't know what else there is to learn, but what else? If they want to find out more about the business, where can they go?
Yeah, well, as in like the website, you mean, or generally? I mean,
your chance for a little plug, Lee.
I'm not really good at those kind of things. I mean, listen, look, we've been around a little bit. You know, I've been networking since 19. You know, out on the block, giving it some, chatting all sorts. I think, obviously, you know, family business, well established. Obviously, want to look after people. We're not necessarily out to always work on saving your money. You know, sometimes people are finding us now because they just want to be valued. They want to be looked after. They want a decent level of service, and Town and Country will deliver that because we've got all those values, and that's where we're at. You know, so
Brilliant.
The other thing is, if you just want to come have a laugh and pop down the office, and it'll be bloody, I'm sure we'll entertain you.
Brilliant. I'm sure you would.
Yeah, completely.
Thank you for being a great guest on the Evolve to Succeed podcast.
Thanks for inviting us. Appreciate it.
What a conversation. A far deeper, more philosophical conversation than I was expected, and I just thank Lee for sharing so much about his story. You know, his highs, his lows, his honest sharing of his relationship with his dad and his brothers. I think whatever you are in business, whatever your role is, whatever type of business you are, I really hope there are some takeaways from that. For me, that bit at the end about parenthood really touched my heart. So I hope you're really enjoying the episodes. If so, please do help us by subscribing. Hit that subscribe button now. And we look forward to you joining us again soon for another episode of the Evolve to Succeed podcast.